If your business feels harder than you expected, you're not doing it wrong. You're just on the part where most people quit. In this video, you're going to be watching a training that I did for my network marketing team. So let's go. All right, welcome, you guys. We're going to get started. I am so excited to be here. I absolutely love our collab group, and I hope that you guys are really enjoying all of this as well. Like the trainers have been so good. One of the things that I am passionate about is mindset and how do I get from point A to point B with the most in the shortest time period. Like I'm always looking for the simplest way, for the fastest way. It's just what I've always done. And so tonight we're going to talk about um, the road less traveled. And honestly, I want to start off by sharing with you that what I'm going to share with you tonight has been learned over the course of 25 years. It's so crazy. In February, I will be celebrating 25 years in direct sales. Like, I can't even fathom that. My kids were little, they were 5 and 3 when I very first got started. And, you know, in that 25 years, I've been through a lot in this business. There's been a lot of ups and downs and all the way around. And not only have I learned through my experiences, but I've also learned a lot through coaching. I would say at this point, probably hundreds of women and even a few men. And so just to give you a little background, in February of 2001, I did start a direct sales business and I really just wanted to earn $500. That's it. You guys, I would be willing to bet that most people, when they join, they want to earn somewhere in the $500 to $1,000 a month range. Like they're not thinking, oh, I want to be grand poobah of the universe when they get started. They just want to make some money. I I did. I really just wanted to bring a little bit of relief to our bills, but I really desired, I would say this was a bigger reason. I desired something that was mine. I loved being a stay-at-home mom. I I had only been doing it about 6 months, but I just had this deep desire to do more. So anyway, I share this because I didn't always know that my life would go in this direction. My hobby became a career, and I became obsessed with learning how to make it better and better. And eventually, that led to me understanding that the biggest predictor of my business would be when my focus became learning how to make myself better and better. And so that took a long time for me to learn. I'm just telling you that. And I really want that to sink in. My business grew exponentially when I took the time to learn how to make myself better and better. I did some self work because that is part of the road less traveled. And I don't want it to take you as long as it did me. So, business owners, you guys are business owners. Most business owners think that they are pulled around kind of by the like a tide, right? The push and pull of everything around them determines where they end up. However, that actually isn't true at all. You get to decide where you go no matter what is happening around you. And I know that that sounds crazy, but I'm going to talk more about this. This is like a really important part, okay? So if you're making notes, write down that I get to decide where I go, no matter what is happening around me. It's a vital way of thinking that most people do not do. This is not how most people think. Okay, so I want to give you a quick example of this, and I'm going to give you several examples, but the first one I'm going to give you is I'm going to take you all the way back to 2008 and 2009. This is before doTERRA. The economy and the housing market had crashed. Do y'all remember that? And nobody was spending money. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you remember this, but that's when the term staycation was actually created. because people weren't traveling, they weren't moving. Like people were literally staying at home. It was so crazy. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And I happened to sell home decor at home parties. That was a non-essential. If I imagine that y'all would agree with that, right? And we started seeing sales in our company going down and down. However, I can also remember this like it was yesterday. I'm thinking, I am not going down without a fight. I remember having that thought. We depended on that income. I was not going to go get a job. Like I had had freedom for way too long. I was unemployable at that point, and I didn't want to get a job. And honestly, I was in the middle of my mom being sick, the flexibility I had when she was sick to go to her doctor's appointments and stay with her and be with her was too important to me. So I wasn't going to go out without a fight. And so I remember thinking, how can I still be successful? And there was a decision that was made at that moment, a decision that would change really a lot of things. But in the quiet time, I can remember thinking about the word staycation. And one of the things that I personally loved when I thought about going on vacation was staying somewhere nicer than my house. Does anybody agree with that? Like, I really enjoyed staying somewhere nicer than where I lived. And so I thought, okay, if everybody is staying at home and eating at home and watching movies at home, what if people could make their home be a place that they actually enjoyed being, a place where they would love to be? And so the money that they were saving on no vacations, no eating out, no going to the movies, could some of that be invested in a few nice things for your kitchen, a few nice things for your mantle to make it a really nice place? And so, y'all, that was my idea. And I ran with it. And that became the marketing for our team. Now, I ended up promoting to the top level of my company in 2009 during that downturn because of that idea that came to me. And so what I want you to know is we can be like everybody else. And truly, I was the last person ever in that company to promote to the top level before they closed. Because most of them didn't make it through that downturn. And I wish I could tell you that that company was like doTERRA, where like this collab, for instance, where we all work together for the better of the company. No, it didn't work like that. People could not figure out what we were doing, and I certainly wasn't going to tell them. That's terrible to say, but that was just how it worked in that company. Our compensation plan makes it beneficial to tell your stuff, to tell what's working, because we get bonuses based on how well the company is doing, right? And so but in that company, the compensation didn't work that way. Now, I wish I had thought about it maybe. Well, I'm not going to say that because honestly, them closing brought me to doTERRA. So everything works out. I probably would not have left had they not closed. But that is just one example of taking the road less traveled. That is a big example of pausing and thinking, dude, there has to be something that I can do. And I remember praying about it. And then this idea came to me. And I acted on the idea. I could have easily gotten the idea and go, well, that's just stupid. Like who would, you know, fall for that? Well, everybody fell for that. And honestly, I remember my host, because we had hosts, I remember them saying, "Oh my God, I'm so excited for us to be able to sit down at dinner and be able to have nice bowls to serve my food out of." Or I've been wanting my mantle to look beautiful for so many years. It sounds so crazy, but it wasn't hurting people to spend this money. They had money to spend, they just weren't spending it, right? And so it didn't cost a lot of money. So anyway, it was a really wonderful service that we did for people during that time frame, and it benefited them. It benefited our team. So over the years, I have either been around a lot of top leaders or I've coached them. I've also coached a lot of people who take the road well traveled, and we're going to talk about that too. So I am extremely familiar with both sets of people. And I found that there are some rules to being in the game that would take you down the road less traveled. And the road less traveled is where the top 2% are. Those are the people who rise to the top of their game. These are the leaders who are leading a lot of other people typically. And so we're going to go over the top 7 rules that I have kind of come to understand just over the last 25 years. Okay. So here we go. Rule number 1. You got to decide which game you're going to play. Okay. So most people, and I'm going to refer to most people as people who are taking the road well traveled, right? That's where most people are going. So most people who play the game of business, entrepreneurship, leadership, I mean, this is valid for people in corporate jobs as well. They play the game to not lose. They play the game to not lose. And the only way to not lose is to avoid losing. Okay, I'm going to say that again because that sounds really weird. But the only way to not lose is to avoid losing. And so that means that they probably don't take risks and they don't do very many things that they might fail at. They play it safe. When you play to not lose, you are really after comfort, convenience, ease, right? Like all those things. That's how you play the game to not lose. Basically, every under earner is playing that game. And you'll hear things like, and you may have said some of these, I've heard so many times, I have such a huge fear of rejection, so I don't even ask. Or sometimes they don't even realize that they're not asking because the fear of rejection is just embedded and they don't even realize, but that's what's happening. So they have this massive fear of rejection, so they don't ask. They don't ask for their phone number. They don't ask to attend a class. They don't ask if they'd be interested in the business. They don't ask. Or maybe, they're afraid that they're going to mess up. So I can't possibly go live on social media. Oh my gosh, what if I mess up? What will people think? Right? People will judge me. Um, I'm afraid I'll fail. I'm afraid somebody else will think I have failed. I've had so many people over the years say to me, I'm afraid I'll disappoint you. That's a really common one. Every time someone says they're afraid to disappoint me as their leader, I'm always astonished by that. Like, instead, be worried about disappointing yourself. Like, don't worry about me. Worry about disappointing yourself. So, the desire to avoid fear is what keeps most people in the not to lose game. That's really what it is. It's the desire to avoid fear. Okay. So, we are basically designed as humans to avoid pain, and fear is pain. And so we avoid anything that's outside of our comfort zone. Does anybody like resonate with all this? It took me years. Trust me when I say in the last 25 years, I have gone through every phase of fear and anxiety and all the things. I have played both sides of this game. Okay. And so until I figured some things out. So when you're in the game, so that the people who take the road less traveled are in the game to win. So do you remember when I told that story a minute ago and I was like, dude, I'm not going down without a fight? I was in the game to win. I didn't even realize what I was doing at the time, but I was in the game to win, and we did win. I hit my goal that I wanted to hit when nobody else was hitting any kind of goal. In the game to win, you don't focus on your losses. You just don't, because losses are inevitable. Mistakes are literally how we get better. failure is how we learn. Oh my gosh, I have learned the biggest lessons in this business through failing in some form or fashion, whether I didn't, it came in all different ways. So I can remember when I started with doTERRA, I was so afraid that nobody would spend $150 on a kit. And I have some team members on here and they know this story. But I was so afraid that nobody would spend that because I came from selling $60 bowls. Like my average ticket was between 40 and about $75 in my previous company. And so the thought of somebody spending $150 on a kit, I'm like, oh my God, who is going to do that? Well, at my very first class, so I didn't talk about anything else but the smallest kit. And at the end of my very first class, every single person that attended the class bought the smallest kit without an issue. I remember them coming, giving me checks and, putting down their credit card information. There was nobody who said, oh my God, this is so hard. I'm not sure. No, they just paid. And I thought, well, holy moly. Okay. So the next class, I added the family essential kit, or the home essential kit to my clothes because I didn't even talk about that kit in my very first class. Shockingly, everyone at that class bought the 250, I think it was 250 at the time, $275 kit, whatever it was, the home essential kit. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're not even blinking an eye. And so then I thought, well, heck, I might as well add in the natural solutions kit. And about once a month or so, I wish I could tell you my next thing. Everybody bought the natural solutions kit. That did not happen. That would have been so great. But about once a month or so, somebody bought the natural solutions kit because I offered it. So I went from fear of even offering anything above 150 to now offering almost a $600 kit, whatever it was. It was like 550 at the time, I think. And you guys, people were purchasing it. I got over my fear. And I made in that second class, I made double the money that I made in my first one. And I was like, holy moly, this is amazing. My sales increased and honestly, my customers were happier. They were happier buying that home essential kit. Now, if I had never gotten over the fear of sharing those larger kits and worrying about whether they could or could not afford what I was offering. And that's what I'm going to tell you I've coached a lot of people around money issues. And the biggest fear is they think they know what people can and cannot afford who are sitting in front of them. Well, and I'm just going to say this, I love my mother-in-law to death. But if you were to talk to her, you would think that she did not have a dime to her name. Like we were walking through Target. She just moved to Georgia, back to Georgia, and we were walking through Target and she was stressing out over a $15 paper towel holder. You guys, like you do not know what people can or cannot afford. But that's what a lot of people do. They decide for people and then they don't ever offer. So that fear of sharing, they make a lot of assumptions. And if I had let that fear stop me, I would never be right here talking to you. So I'm just going to tell you that. I bought the natural solutions kit. Yeah, Pat. So it's really funny because some of the people who bought the natural solutions kit or the home essential, whatever it is, some of those people, I'm like, well, what makes you so special? Like, why did you feel like that kit was a good kit to buy? And nobody else would ever want that kit. What is that about? It's really fascinating that a lot of the people who make the assumption that nobody else can afford the kit actually bought the bigger kits themselves. So anyway, that's just a funny thing, but it happens all the time. So the game to win is to give everything you've got, right? Even when it feels scary. That's actually a signal that you're on the right path. I remember when compliance happened, I was determined to get through that unscathed. I remember that. I remember thinking this was another moment in time where I thought this is not going to take us down. Like, because it was kind of crazy for a, a couple of weeks at least. And I thought, we are not going to do that. And I will tell you, my attitude determined the attitude of everybody on my team. And we made it through unscathed. And I will, there's a lot of other leaders who decided to, you know, let people know how angry they were and how bitter they were and how fearful they were. And they gave that energy to their teams. And a few of them never recovered from that. I was in the game to win, which means you get creative, you stay positive, and you overcome your fears. And I taught my team how to do that. And we made it through without any issues at all, really, especially compared to other people. I just kept hearing all these leaders, my team is a mess. They're so upset. I'm like, we are doing okay. So, rule number one is decide which game you're going to play. Are you going to play the easy, comfortable one or the one that's going to push you outside of your comfort zone? Okay. Oh, y'all, this is going to go longer than 30 minutes. I'm so sorry. It's going to be worth it. I promise. Rule number two, jump in, ready or not. It's in the preparation that most people miss out, like they miss out on everything. How many of you have enrolled a builder who prepares forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and never does anything, right? There's nothing wrong with being organized. But quite honestly, you are going to learn far more along the way than you would ever do in just studying. Like by doing, you're going to learn more by doing than you ever would learn by just studying. So in the very beginning of my business, this is in my doTERRA business. I flop back and forth between the two, but my upline graciously sent me a modern essentials book. And I had never used essential oils before in my life. So I started reading it and I became super overwhelmed. And about a week later, she called me and she said, so when is your first class? And I remember saying to her, oh, I don't think this is right for me. I can't do this. I can't remember all this stuff. It is way too much. I am extremely overwhelmed. I can remember that also like it was yesterday because it was kind of a pivotal moment for me. And that's when she reminded me. And she just said, it was so simple what she said, but she said, well, you've used the oils and had a few experiences. You've told me about them. And I'm like, yeah, I have. And she said, well, the class sheet tells you everything else. So just do it. And I'm like, you're right. I'm so in my head right now. Like, I got off the phone and I scheduled my first class for 1 week later. I sent out an email and I'm like, okay, I'm inviting people. I can't back out of this because I was still scared. I was very scared actually. But I never looked back. I jumped in not being fully ready. So you got to do those things sometimes, right? If you know that it's the right thing to do, don't let fear get in your way. And I hope that you have somebody who will talk some sense into you because I was very grateful that she did. Um, Also, allow yourself to be led by your intuition just a bit. I felt called to do doTERRA. I just did. I knew it was the right thing for me, but it was super scary at the time. And I was on my way of talking myself right out of it until my upline talked to me. But even then, I had a choice to make. I could stick to my guns and never start, or I could do what I did and put it out there so that I couldn't turn back. So if you feel called to attend a training or do the training, like if you feel called to teach a specific class, teach the class. Just jump in and do it. You don't need everything in place and your future completely mapped out. Just get busy and learn along the way. I've done this more times than I can count. I've watched so many incredible people never even get started because they're so caught up in learning. All right. Rule number three, keep on persisting, even when things aren't going as planned. Oh, so many people feel like they have to hit it big right away, or it isn't going to work for them. I can remember I hit diamond in a fairly quick time period, and then I was stuck at diamond for 4 years. I could have easily given up, but that is when I learned how to focus on me. And that played a huge role in moving me forward to blue diamond and presidential diamond. But so many people get started and the ball gets rolling and they have a class or two where no one shows up. And I hear, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be, or this is too hard, or nobody wants what I have, or they have a builder who quits. That's it. I'm done. I'm not cut out for this. This is hard. And they quit. That is taking the road well traveled. That is the easy thing to do. But this is where you have to keep going. You do it even when it's hard. Even when it seems like nothing is happening, you develop persistence. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, the payoff comes. And it's typically a little longer than you would expect it to be. It's almost like God is testing us to see if we're going to have faith and if we're going to stay the course. um, but it's in those moments of persistence that we grow. And we never grow in ease, you guys. We don't. We don't grow in ease. We grow in the uncomfortable. That's really where you're going to learn so much. And it's in that growth that, us pushing through prepares us for bigger challenges down the road. And trust me, there will be bigger challenges. So, number three is keep persisting even when things don't go as planned. Rule number four, grab opportunities when they come. Um, you begin the game by jumping in and playing to win. You play it by persevering through the challenges, and then you like get to the next level by grabbing opportunities or even better, creating opportunities. So it's determination, not luck, that makes all the difference in the world. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, you're so lucky. Things just work for you. Yeah, no, I'm just determined. So get in front of people, use your products, talk about your products on social media, start conversations with people, invite people to learn more, teach classes, do one-on-ones. Like, be determined and go with your intuition when it tells you to reach out to somebody or talk to that person or sample that person or stop by and, offer something to that person, like whatever it is. Um, Grab the opportunity when it comes to you. I really believe that a lot of the thoughts that come into our head, like, hey, you should stop in there and talk to them about this, or, hey, I'm feeling like I want to go to that networking meeting tonight, whatever it is. I just really think that that's God planting seeds for us. And sometimes we don't see the results right away, but then we look back and we go, oh my gosh, if I had never gone to that meeting, I wouldn't have met that person and that wouldn't have happened. Like we cannot see the big picture. So you gotta just grab opportunities as they come. So that's rule number four, grab opportunities. Rule number five, make no excuses. This one's going to be a little uncomfortable. Um, so I read a quote that said, oh gosh, I hope I can remember it right. It said that excuses are to earnings what donuts are to dieters. Forbidden. It was kind of funny when I read it, but I was like, oh my gosh, that's kind of true. But seriously, like you can't make excuses. You have to be 100% responsible for yourself. It's not the economics, right? The economy is what causing you to fail. Like kind of in my earlier story, when I could have easily blamed the economy on me not doing well in my business. Nobody would even question it. It's not the economy. It's not your kid's fault. It's not your employer's fault. It's not your parents' fault. It's not your upline's fault. It's not your downline's fault. Okay? You get to make choices every single day that have brought you to this moment. Your choices have brought you to this moment. Own your choices. And if you don't like where you are, make different choices. Um, and you might be sitting there thinking of all the valid reasons why you haven't been able to be successful or not as successful as you would like. And I'm going to tell you one more quick story that will hopefully help you see that no excuses means no excuses. So this is back in my previous business. I was in like one of the hardest times of my life. My mom had just passed away. My uncle, who lived in Connecticut, was like life flighted 2 weeks later to the hospital and was diagnosed with the same cancer that my mom had been diagnosed with, but his had spread to his brain, and he lost his ability to speak. And he didn't never had children. He was never married. I became his healthcare like person. I can't remember what that's called. But I had to make massive decisions. My dad was still alive when my mom passed, so he made most of the big decisions. all of a sudden I'm in this place where I have to make massive decisions, and I have two young children, and I'm having to fly to Connecticut several times, getting a lawyer for a will and making these horrible decisions. Like it was horrible. Well, I was earning an incentive trip, and I had never not earned an incentive trip. I was with them for 12 years, and I earned 25 trips with them. They did two trips a year. I earned 25 trips with them. I had never not earned an incentive trip, and I did not want to not earn this one either. I was so close. Like we're talking one party close. But I had to fly to Connecticut. It was an emergency situation. I had to go. And we couldn't buy our own stuff like we can in doTERRA to make a party. Like we had to actually do parties, and we had to have sales from different people. So I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? I could give the party to somebody else because this person had booked a party with me. I could give it to somebody else, but I needed those sales for my trip. They would get the sales, right? And we needed the money too, to be honest with you. Now, I do happen to have an incredible husband who is kind of up for almost anything. And I, if he couldn't do it or wouldn't do it, I promise you I would have found another way. But I continued to be creative, and I equipped my husband to go do that party with a bunch of women and sell what he saw me use in our home many, many, many times. I literally did a training with him. I had him practice in front of me, and do you know he sold enough that we earned the trip? Yeah, like it was the craziest thing. Not one soul would blame me for not earning the trip. I could have taken the road well traveled and nobody would even question it. But I was going to do everything in my power to earn that dang trip. And I did. And it was the best trip ever. And my husband got to come with me, and he became a little famous after that. But what I want you to hear is no excuses. And if you do choose to make a choice, because you can do that, then own the choice that you make. Don't blame it on, oh, I had to fly to Connecticut. No, if I had chosen to let that party go to somebody else, I would have had to own the choice that I chose to do that. So own your choices, okay? Don't blame it on anything else or anyone else or anything like that. Rule number 5, no excuses. Rule number 6, ignore the naysayers. You know the people, the ones who seriously care about you, like I'm being serious here, who tell you not to do what you want to do for many, many reasons. I have team leaders who have children who are embarrassed by what they do, or who won't use the oils, or their husband isn't supportive. And look, a supportive husband is a tough challenge, right? I will tell you, most husbands come around when the money that comes in is greater than the inconvenience of the business. Okay. So if you want to win your husband over, start making money. Um, and so you're net, if they see that you're tied up all the time and you're taking time away from the family and from them and you're not making a lot of money, they're going to be not supportive. Okay. But I would say some naysayers really they have a good heart. Maybe they themselves have failed before at a business, or they know people who have, and they're just trying to protect you and tell you it's not a good idea. Um, some naysayers don't want you to succeed because they've never succeeded themselves. And if you do, their fear is you might leave them. This is what they think. Some naysayers have a terrible relationship with themselves, and they don't like themselves. And when they see you being successful, they feel inclined to take you down a notch. So they transfer the anger that they have with themselves right to you. And this is why you see so many hateful things on posts where people are saying mean things and they don't even know the person. Like they don't even know the person. And they're saying all these mean things. That's where that comes from. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you don't have any naysayers, and you may not, like I feel like in our kind of business, we're not like becoming so famous. But if you don't have any naysayers, you may be driving down the road well traveled if you haven't ruffled anybody's feathers along the way. You know you're doing great things when people are ready to take you down a notch. Don't let them get in your head. Persevere. I speak from a lot of experience with this. I've been taken down a few times, and it's probably one of the biggest obstacles I have literally faced, but I'm still here and moving forward. So, rule 6, ignore the naysayers. And the last rule, number 7, is to get help. There are not many top leaders who made it to the top without any support of any kind. Now, I know there's probably a few people that it's happened to, but in most cases, those top leaders make it to the top and they are burned out and exhausted because they've tried to do it all themselves. And they end up cascading back down because it's unsustainable. And so, a big characteristic of a person who goes down the road well traveled is they think or they decide that they have to do it alone and they have to do it their way. And I want you to hear that because I cannot even explain to you how many people feel this way. I have offered so many people help and they just refuse it, either by saying no, or they don't respond, or they don't take me up on it, or they are insistent on doing things their way and they won't change even after their way is not working. Look, I'm all about us being creative and doing things differently, right? Doing things in a way that feels good to us. If it's working, go for it. If it isn't, maybe run it by somebody else. There might be a few tweaks you can make here and there to make it better, right? And so my way isn't always perfect for everyone, but when your way isn't working, be inclined to be coachable and try new things or new ways. I also want to recommend that you actually learn from the people who have done what you want to do. It drives me crazy when I see leaders who are taking advice or learning from other people who have not done what they want to do. Like you should be learning from people who have done what you want to do. And so like take that in. You know, a lot of times you just have to tweak a few things. And all of a sudden, everything is flying, everything is moving. I love to simplify things. Sometimes people overcomplicate things, and I love to simplify things. So, you remember that upline who reminded me that I knew enough right then to do the business? Had I been stubborn and refused her help and thought, I know more and I know better, I would have never started. Like I said, I was scared to death to teach that first class. I practiced it several times so I wouldn't like it wouldn't feel like total like it wasn't alien words coming out of my mouth. But I was scared. But my upline was there to answer my questions and help me feel more calm. And I will promise you, please, like I know I was a pain in the rear to her. And she was probably thinking, Lord have mercy. I hope this girl makes it big because I took up a lot of her time asking questions and asking for help on a lot of different things. Um, I felt super insecure. And she talked me through all of that. But I promise you, her patience and her kindness paid off because all my volume that my team brings in is under her. And she has done very well because of that. So to this day, my upline is a dear friend, and I still go to her when I am in need. I'm not afraid to ask for help. And it doesn't make me look weak to ask for help. It makes me stronger and better by doing so. So, anyway, I literally picked my upline because she was so when I was looking for an upline, I was kind of in a place where I was kind of like had rough edges, very pointy edges. I was hard and I don't know, skeptical, stubborn, a lot of things. I was very rough. I wanted to be softer. I wanted to be more peaceful. After you lose a lot of people in your life, you realize there's a better way to live. And I wanted that peace. I wanted to grow my business in a much different way than the way I grew it in my first business. And when I met my upline, I knew she was the person to teach me that. She was all those things that I was not. And I allowed her to teach me and mold me. And it was hard. There were a few times where we would have conversations and I'm like, oh my God, that is such a different way of thinking. And it felt so uncomfortable. But I embraced it because I knew that it was for my own good. And so Ask for help and receive help. Receiving is also very important. When someone offers to help you, assume they offered because they actually want to help, not because they offered just to offer. And I'm going to tell you, if you are one of the ones listening to this and you assume people are not being true when they offer to help you, then I recommend taking a look in the mirror because I can almost guarantee that you offer to help or do things that you really don't want to do, either because you perceive that it will make you look bad if you don't do it, or there's other reasons for it. But making the assumption that people aren't being truthful when they offer to help, that is a you think. That has nothing to do with the other person. You're making a lot of assumptions that are more than likely not true. So you end up projecting that on other people who are actually trying to help you. That's a little deep, but it's true. We can only give and receive what we give and receive to ourselves. So, um, rule number 7 was be open to help, asking for help or even receiving it. Okay. So those are the 7 rules that will help get you to the next level. What scares you in your business? Like I taught a whole training on identifying builders because I find that many are wonderful at sharing oils. Many people in doTERRA specifically are wonderful at sharing oils, but they are not wonderful about sharing the business opportunity. Go back and listen to that. That it takes a different mindset to share the business opportunity. And most often it's fear of, oh my gosh, I'm not making enough. How could I possibly share the business opportunity? Well, that's like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like you have to get help to overcome that. That one change will make the biggest difference in your business. I have a leader that I'm working with outside of my team, and she has been super successful, but she's been stuck at Diamond for a long time, and she enrolls people like crazy, like lots of people, but she doesn't identify builders very well. And this has been something she's been working on, and all of a sudden it's like clicking. And she's identified 2 new builders on her team, and they are doing great, and it's going to make all the difference. It became her focus, but she needed to be reminded many, many, many times about it because it's a habit that we're breaking, right? You probably have some habits that you've created over the years. It might take some help to change those habits. Get the help to do that. Okay. Um, so the 7 rules. Hold on, let me pull up my little notes. So the 7 rules are number 1, decide which game you're going to play. Number 2, jump in, ready or not. Number 3, keep on persisting, especially when things don't go as planned. Number 4, grab opportunities. Number 5, make no excuses. Number 6, ignore the naysayers. And number 7, ask and receive help. So who is ready to take their business down a different road in 2026? I hope you are. So I'm happy to ask down to answer any questions. Rule 2, jump in ready or not. Oh, rule number 2. Okay, good. Yeah. Hopefully everybody got those. Are there any questions before we end our call? I did go a little bit over. I tried to speed up. Um, any questions before we end? Was this helpful? Were
This
there some things that you learned?
this was super great. Somebody did ask if you taught your first class next week, which teaching sheet or which class would you teach?
Whatever the company has offered. I know they're changing class sheets right
Right
now.
now?
So I'm actually not sure what's up. And I'll be honest with you, I have some paper sheets still that are a little bit older. But whatever the company is offering, because that's what I used. Well, actually, I don't think we had class sheets from the company back when I started. I started 12 years ago. Um, Whatever my upline sent me is what I ended up using, but I would just use, yeah, whatever the company is has available because they do make that available now. So I do know that they're redoing the class sheet. I don't know if it's up there yet. One side is going to have supplements on it, and the other side is going to have oils on it. So you can actually use one sheet. And
Mhm.
if you decide I'm going to focus on oils and not even talk about supplements, you could totally do that by using one side. Or you can use both sides and kind of you can pick and choose. They're trying to make it, easy. So anyway, that is coming. I don't think it's up there yet, but that's coming. But yeah, just use whatever you have. But
Lori,
yes,
I know I saw the t when you told us or taught us how to identify builders.
yes.
Where do I find that to review that?
So that was one of the collab
Yeah.
recording. I've
Yeah.
done it with the collab. It's probably in our team page.
Okay.
If you can't find it, let me know
I
and I
will.
can find it for you. But yeah, it's yeah.
It was good. I remember, but
And for those of you not on my team, you should be able to go back to your leader if you want to see that recording and just ask them for it. We have like a whole list of recordings, and so they can send that to you. If this video helped you, hit subscribe. I share honest leadership and business mindset training here, and I would love to hear in the comments which rule that you needed to hear today and what you're going to put into effect in your own life.